The sun shone brightly over the Marine base, casting a warm glow across the gravel paths and military buildings. Sounds of laughter and conversation filled the air as groups of Marines gathered during their short break, sharing stories of bravery and adventure. They moved with purpose, every step reflecting the discipline ingrained in them through rigorous training. This was a place where unity thrived, where each soldier looked out for one another, creating a bond that only grew stronger under pressure. Along the parade grounds, teams practiced drills, their movements perfectly synchronized. The rhythmic thud of boots on the ground echoed like a heartbeat, resonating through the training fields. Nearby, the clang of metal against metal signaled equipment checks as Marines prepared for their next exercises. This was more than just a base. It was a home away from home, filled with people who had each other's backs. In one corner of the base, a group of female cadets shared laughter and friendship, embodying both strength and camaraderie in an environment that often tested them. They trained just as hard as their male counterparts, proving that resilience knew no gender. Among them stood our protagonist, a confident and determined young woman who had earned her place in this tough world. Her spirit shone brightly, and she laughed easily with her friends, confident in her abilities. However, even amidst this brotherhood, the tension of competition could occasionally flare up. As weekend passes approached, excitement blended with anticipation among the Marines. Little did they know that today would be unlike any other. A day when the bonds forged here would be strained by actions that threatened respect and honor. The atmosphere crackled with energy, a perfect stage for what was about to unfold. Among the Marines at the base stood Emma, a determined young woman whose strength and resilience made her shine brightly in a male-dominated world. Growing up in a small town, she always dreamed of serving her country. With parents who encouraged her adventurous spirit, she joined the Junior Reserve Officers Training Corps, JROTC, in high school, where she quickly proved herself as a natural leader. Emma's dedication and hard work earned her a scholarship to the Marine Corps, fulfilling her lifelong ambition. At the base, she faced challenges head-on, never shying away from rigorous training or daunting tasks. Unlike some of her peers who were driven by bravado, Emma's motivation stemmed from a genuine desire to protect others and make a difference. She formed close friendships with other cadets, and they often relied on each other for support. Together, they shared laughter during breaks and encouraged one another during tough drills. Emma was known for her fierce determination, both physically and mentally. She had a talent for martial arts, which she had picked up as a child. Those skills gave her confidence and set her apart from others. She could hold her own against anyone. Proud of her training, Emma was eager to prove that women could excel in the military just as much as men could. As the weekend approached, excitement bubbled among the cadets about their upcoming plans. Emma's focus remained on honing her skills and building strong bonds with her fellow Marines. Little did she know that today would test not just her strength, but also her ability to stand up for herself in ways she had never imagined. This day would push her resilience to the limit, a defining moment awaited on the horizon. As the day unfolded at the Marine base, a different energy pulsed through the ranks. Enter Jake, a cocky soldier whose bravado often overshadowed his skills. He was known for his flashy moves during drills and his tendency to boast about his accomplishments. With a perfectly styled haircut and a swagger in his step, Jake thrived on attention, particularly from women. His arrogance often rubbed others the wrong way, but he didn't seem to care. He believed he was invincible. Jake had a reputation among the Marines for his flirtatious behavior, especially towards female cadets. He would approach them with smooth lines and playful smirks, seeking validation rather than connection. Many found him charming at first, but it quickly became clear that his confidence masked a deeper insecurity. Whenever he felt challenged, particularly by someone like Emma who could hold her own, he resorted to underhanded tactics to maintain his image. His interactions were often laced with condescension. He underestimated Emma's abilities simply because she was a woman, frequently making comments that belittled her achievements. "Let me show you how it's done," he would say with a chuckle after watching her complete a difficult drill. To him, it was all just harmless teasing, but those around knew it cut deeper. Despite this behavior, Jake had allies who cheered him on, feeding his inflated ego even more. His bravado created an atmosphere of tension. While some admired his confidence, others saw through it as mere bravado, meant to mask weaknesses. As the weekend approached and excitement filled the air, Jake felt emboldened to push boundaries further. Little did he know that today would not only test Emma's resilience, but also challenge Jake's arrogance in ways he never expected. The stage was set for a clash that would reshape their understanding of respect and self-worth. The atmosphere at the Marine base shifted as the day progressed, a storm brewing beneath the surface of camaraderie and teamwork. As Emma wrapped up her morning drill, she felt a sense of pride for having performed well, only to have that pride quickly overshadowed by Jake's boisterous laughter. He approached her, flashing his trademark smug grin. "Hey there, champ," Jake called out, his voice dripping with insincerity. "Nice moves out there, but I bet I could teach you a thing or two." He stepped closer, invading her personal space, a smirk playing on his lips. Emma clenched her fists at her sides, refusing to let his comments shake her confidence. "I'm sure you think you can, but I'm fine on my own," she replied coolly, trying to brush him off. But Jake wasn't finished yet. His eyes gleamed with mischief as he took another step forward. "Come on, don't be so uptight. Lighten up." At that moment, Emma felt the air grow tense around them. Other Marines began to notice the exchange, their eyes flicking between the two as they sensed the rising tension. Jake continued his advances, leaning in slightly and lowering his voice in a tone meant to sound charming, but only came off as patronizing. "You could use some fun in your life. Hanging out with me might just do you good." A wave of anger surged through Emma, igniting her instincts for self-defense. She stood tall and unwavering, staring directly into Jake's condescending gaze. "Keep your hands off me," she warned, her voice steady yet firm, refusing to back down in front of her peers. In that instant, both knew they were on a collision course. The respect that defined their environment was fraying dangerously thin, and Emma was ready to confront whatever lay ahead, knowing that she would not tolerate being disrespected again. The tension hung heavy in the air, setting the stage for an explosive confrontation that neither soldier could anticipate. Emma felt a surge of determination coursing through her body as she faced Jake's condescending gaze. She could sense the tension building, not just between them, but throughout the group of onlooking Marines. In that moment, She drew from her training and experiences, reminding herself of the countless hours she had spent honing her skills and developing her inner strength. "Keep your hands off me," she repeated, her voice steady and unwavering, cutting through the nervous chatter of those around them. Emma's heart raced, but she held her ground, refusing to let fear dictate her actions. Instead of backing down, she took a small step forward, closing the space between them, asserting her power in a way that surprised even herself. As Jake's smirk faltered, Emma continued to hold his gaze, showing him that his bravado did not intimidate her. "I've worked hard to earn my place here, and I won't let you disrespect me or my abilities," she declared. Her words resonated with the surrounding Marines, who began to murmur in support. Emma's confidence grew stronger as she stood there, embodying the very values that defined the Marine Corps: honor, courage, and commitment. She knew this was more than just a moment. It was an opportunity to demonstrate that women could stand tall alongside men in this demanding environment. With each heartbeat, she felt a fierce pride swell within her. The other Marines watched intently, sensing the shift in dynamics. No longer was she just Emma, the determined cadet. She was now a symbol of resistance against disrespect. As Jake's expression shifted from amusement to concern, Emma realized that this confrontation was not merely about personal boundaries. It was about challenging outdated attitudes and asserting herself in a space where respect should be non-negotiable. The air crackled with anticipation as both soldiers stood poised for what would unfold next, knowing the stakes had never been higher. The atmosphere crackled with tension as Emma stood firm against Jake's advances. Her unwavering stance seemed to challenge him, but instead of retreating, Jake's aggression only intensified. With a scowl replacing his earlier bravado, he leaned closer, invading her space once again. "You really think you can talk to me like that? You're just a girl playing soldier," he sneered, trying to provoke her further. The murmurs among the other Marines grew louder, some urging Jake to back off, while others watched in disbelief. Emma could see the mixed reactions, but she remained focused on Jake, refusing to let his words rattle her. "You don't know anything about me," she shot back, her voice steady despite the rising tension. Ignoring her response, Jake pushed the envelope even more. "Maybe you need a real lesson in humility," he retorted, his tone dripping with condescension. He took a step forward, closing the gap between them as he raised his hand in a mocking gesture, as if to pat her on the shoulder, a gesture Emma found deeply offensive. "Back off!" shouted another Marine from the sidelines, trying to intervene. But Jake waved him away dismissively, too caught up in his own machismo to heed any warnings. "This is between me and her," he barked, asserting dominance over the situation. Emma felt a mix of anger and determination rise within her as she sensed the support from her fellow Marines. She could see their concern and knew they were ready to step in if things escalated further. But she wanted to handle this herself. It was important for her to show that she could stand strong against intimidation. Suddenly, without warning, Jake made a sudden move towards Emma, raising his hand as if to shove her aside. The moment hung in the air like a coiled spring ready to snap. Emma's instincts kicked in. She was prepared for anything. The conflict had escalated dangerously close to a physical confrontation, and both soldiers knew that something had to give. The atmosphere felt electric, and Emma's heart pounded in her chest as Jake took a threatening step closer. She could see the smirk on his face, but behind it lay a twisted sense of entitlement that ignited a fire within her. Emma felt the weight of the moment pressing down on her. She had stood her ground long enough. This was not just about her anymore. It was about asserting her right to be treated with respect. Suddenly, everything around her faded into the background. The murmurs of her fellow Marines, the tension in the air, even Jake's mocking tone. All of it slipped away as she focused on the task at hand. Emma recalled her martial arts training, the countless hours spent learning how to defend herself, and the powerful lessons she had absorbed about self-respect and strength. In that instant, she decided enough was enough. As Jake raised his hand, preparing to push her aside in a final act of aggression, Emma felt a surge of adrenaline. Time seemed to slow as she anticipated his movement. She had trained for this. With quick reflexes, she sidestepped his advance, pivoting on her heel with fluid grace. In one swift motion, she turned to face him, channeling all her focus and determination into a single action. "Do you really want to find out what happens next?" Emma's voice rang clear and strong, filled with conviction. The defiance in her gaze challenged him to make his move. She could feel the support of her fellow Marines behind her. Their silent encouragement bolstered her confidence. The turning point had arrived. No longer would she be a target of his arrogance. Instead, she would defend herself with every ounce of strength she possessed. This was the moment she had been waiting for, a chance to reclaim her power and prove to everyone, including herself, that she wouldn't be intimidated. Emma stood ready, prepared to fight for her dignity and set the stage for a confrontation that would change everything. As Jake lunged forward, Emma's instincts kicked in. She sidestepped his advance with remarkable agility, feeling the adrenaline surge through her veins as she positioned herself for the confrontation. The surrounding Marines gasped, their eyes wide with anticipation, but Emma remained focused, channeling the countless hours of training that had prepared her for this moment. With a swift motion, she pivoted and faced Jake, who was now off balance from his aggressive charge. Seizing the opportunity, she executed a powerful kick aimed at his midsection. Her foot connected solidly, sending him stumbling back. The gasps of astonishment from her fellow Marines echoed around them. But Emma didn't pause to relish the moment. She knew this fight was far from over. Jake regained his footing quickly, his expression shifting from surprise to fury. He charged at her again, but Emma was ready. She ducked under his outstretched arm and shifted to the side, using her momentum to throw a precise elbow strike into his ribs. The impact knocked the wind out of him, causing him to gasp and stagger backward once more. "Is that all you've got?" Emma taunted, her voice steady despite the rapid pace of the encounter. The defiance in her words fueled her resolve. She refused to be intimidated any longer. As Jake attempted another rush towards her, Emma recalled a key technique she had practiced countless times: a low sweep. With perfect timing, she dropped low and swept one leg out from under him while simultaneously pushing up with her hands against his torso. He lost his balance completely and fell hard onto the ground with a thud that echoed across the training yard. The shock of Jake hitting the ground silenced everyone for a brief moment before murmurs erupted among the watching Marines. Emma stood tall over him, breathing heavily yet composed, embodying both strength and grace. In that instant, She not only defended herself, but also reclaimed her power amidst the respect of her peers, a pivotal moment that would resonate throughout the base long after this confrontation ended. As the fight wore on, Emma and Jake exchanged blows, the intensity of the confrontation escalating with each moment. The Marines surrounding them watched with bated breath, eyes glued to the dramatic showdown unfolding before them. Emma could feel their collective focus, a mix of awe and concern, as she matched Jake's aggression with her own formidable skills. Jake, desperate to regain control, charged at her once more. Fueled by adrenaline and determination, Emma anticipated his next move. Remembering key principles from her martial arts training, she prepared for a decisive action. As he approached, she expertly directed his momentum against him. In a split second, she dropped low again, sweeping her leg beneath him while using her upper body strength to push him sideways. But this time, she added an element of surprise. Instead of merely pushing him down, she aimed for a joint lock that targeted his leg. As his body twisted awkwardly during the fall, he inadvertently put immense pressure on his knee, resulting in a loud crack that echoed through the air like thunder. Gasps filled the crowd as the shock of the moment sank in. Time seemed to stand still as Jake hit the ground hard, his face contorting in pain. Silence enveloped the training yard, punctuated only by the sounds of his labored breaths. The other Marines stood frozen, unable to process what they had just witnessed, a moment that seemed both transformative and tragic. Emma remained poised over him, breathing heavily but composed. The reality of what had occurred weighed heavily on her. She had defended herself successfully, but also crossed a line in her fight for respect. The severity of Jake's injury would have consequences far beyond this encounter. While she had won this battle for dignity, they both faced a new reality that would resonate throughout the base, a powerful reminder of the thin line between self-defense and unintended harm. As the dust settled in the training yard, the reactions of the 500 Marines were palpable. A stunned silence enveloped the crowd as they processed what had just transpired. Some stood with their mouths agape, disbelief etched on their faces, unable to reconcile the ferocity of Emma's defense with their expectations of a mere confrontation. The sound of Jake hitting the ground echoed in their minds, and a mix of emotions swirled among them. A few Marines exchanged glances, whispers of astonishment traveling through the ranks. "Did she really just do that?" one soldier murmured, barely able to comprehend the skill and strength Emma had displayed. Others, who had witnessed Jake's condescending behavior toward her moments before, began to nod in silent appreciation of Emma's bravery. It was a moment that had transcended mere physicality. It was a statement about respect and self-defense. "Wow, that was incredible," exclaimed a Marine nearby, his voice cutting through the tension as he broke into a smile. The admiration rippled through the crowd like a wave as more voices rose in support. "She showed him!" Many began to cheer, their awe turning into thunderous applause. Emma's stance transformed her from a fellow cadet into a symbol of empowerment in that instant. Yet, alongside the admiration came concern. Some Marines knelt beside Jake as he grimaced in pain, his injury severe. Their expressions shifted from excitement to worry. They knew this incident would have serious ramifications for both Emma and Jake. The cheers quickly ebbed into conversations about what this meant for respect within their ranks and how this event would be remembered. The atmosphere became charged with contemplation. While some celebrated Emma's victory against intimidation, others understood the complexities of what had just unfolded. The reality hit home. They were witnessing not just a fight, but an awakening of new perspectives on strength and gender dynamics within their community. Emma stood tall amidst it all, aware that she had crossed a threshold. Her actions would be discussed long after this day ended. In the wake of the confrontation, chaos quickly reigned at the training yard. Marines moved to assist Jake, who lay on the ground in visible pain, clutching his leg. Emma's heart raced as she realized the severity of his injury, feeling a wave of concern wash over her, despite the adrenaline still coursing through her veins. Medics arrived promptly, hastily assessing Jake's condition and calling for a stretcher as they carefully examined his leg. The murmurs among the crowd grew louder as Jake was lifted onto the stretcher, his face contorted in agony. Some Marines shook their heads in disbelief, while others cast sideways glances at Emma. The cheers that had shortly before echoed from their ranks faded into anxious silence. The gravity of the injury casting a shadow over their earlier excitement. Once Jake was carried away for medical attention, Emma found herself on edge, unsure of what would unfold next. The commanding officers soon arrived to assess the situation. Whispers turned into discussions about potential disciplinary actions against both Jake and Emma. On one hand, there was acknowledgement of Emma's right to defend herself. On the other hand, there were concerns regarding the physicality exhibited during the fight. Emma faced an inquiry about the incident, her heart heavy with guilt over Jake's injury, even though she felt justified in defending herself. She explained her perspective calmly and candidly, emphasizing how she responded instinctively to his aggression. Meanwhile, Jake's camp rallied support, while deeming Emma's actions excessive, given that he had only been attempting to assert himself. While medical evaluations and discussions about discipline continued, it became clear that this event would spark a series of changes within the unit. The commander's decision would not only impact Emma's standing, but also serve as a critical moment for gender dynamics within the Marines, an opportunity for reassessment of behavior and respect among soldiers. As tensions simmered down, Emma contemplated how she would navigate this new territory, aware that her actions had set off ripples far beyond just this one encounter. Whatever decisions were made now would define not only her future, but potentially lead to a reckoning within their ranks regarding respect and behavior towards women in a traditionally male-dominated environment. In the aftermath of the confrontation, the lessons learned about respect and personal strength were profound. Emma reflected on the intense events that had unfolded, recognizing that her journey was not just about defending herself, but about standing up against the bullying behavior that often plagued those in positions of power. She understood that true strength comes not only from physical ability, but also from the resolve to face disrespect with courage and integrity. As conversations among the Marines shifted to discussions of respect and behavior, Emma listened intently. Many spoke about how they viewed masculinity and dominance differently now, no longer seeing them as synonymous with power, but rather as challenges to be confronted. The incident had sparked genuine dialogue, encouraging others to think critically about their actions and the impact of their words on fellow Marines. Emma realized that being part of a united force meant more than just physical prowess. It encompassed mutual support and respect for one another, regardless of gender. She took pride in her role as a catalyst for this transformation, understanding that her actions could inspire others to challenge the status quo. Moreover, she recognized the importance of empathy and communication. Witnesses to the event began to share stories about their own experiences with bullying and intimidation, fostering a climate where all voices could be heard. Emma felt a growing solidarity amongst her peers. They were rising together to redefine what it meant to be strong, to protect, and to honor one another. In the end, this experience served as a pivotal moment in Emma's life. She learned that standing up for oneself could prompt change far beyond personal encounters. It could challenge harmful norms and create an environment where everyone felt valued and respected. With this realization, Emma stepped forward with renewed purpose, prepared to advocate for a future where strength was celebrated, not through aggression, but through integrity and mutual respect.